Nobody talks about you, then you are nobody. Then you are nobody. Remember, child, everybody get that problem for head.
The 7 Hermetic Principles that I'm speaking on today are the foundation of Hermeticism, all right? And so Hermeticism is a non-Christian lineage of Gnosticism. And it's a branch of spiritual philosophy, and it dates back as early as the 1st century AD, around like 1st and 2nd century AD. And so these principles were outlined by Hermes Trismegistus, and he's believed to have written the Emerald Tablets and the Corpus Hermetica. And those two pieces of literature are just highly influential ancient teachings that we have been able to find through archaeological digs and things like that. And so his work would go on to influence both Greek and Egyptian cultures, with both of them seeing him and adopting him as a god of wisdom. In Greece, he was called Hermes, and in Egypt, he was called Thoth. And so he was known in his time as a great master of the universe. And they say that he lived for a really long time, like thousands of years or whatever. Let's see. Anansi is here, not drinking tea tonight, though. Drinking a spirit, though. Ashe, we like spirits. We like spirits, okay? So over time, the 7 Hermetic Principles were passed down by word of mouth, a lot like African traditions are, and African traditional religions are passed by word of mouth orally from teacher to student or parent to child kind of thing. And eventually, one day in the early 20th century, the teachings were compiled into a book called the Kabbalion. And so some of you may have read the Kabbalion or read pieces of it. If you have not read it, I highly recommend that you read it. And it was written by the 3 initiates, right? And so today, this remains an occult source of wisdom, but it's really separate from any religion. It's not really attached to any mainstream religion, but it's powerful, nonetheless, because of the information that is contained in it. So with that little bit of background and to kind of set you guys into what we're going to be talking about, let's go ahead and get into these 7 principles, okay? So the first one is the principle of mentalism. And the principle of mentalism says the all is mind, the universe is mental. Okay. The all is mind, the universe is mental. And if you guys would like to purchase a one sheet of everything that I'm going to be covering tonight, you can send 1111 to my Cash App. Make sure you put your email address in there, and I will get the one sheet sent out to you guys. Also, my Cash App is on the bottom for love offerings as well. But if you want the one sheet, send 1111 to my Cash App with your email. If you don't send me your email, I cannot get you the one sheet with the information. So please put that in there. Okay. So the principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. Okay. And all of these, again, are coming out of the Kabbalion. So meaning the universe itself, okay, at an underlying and foundational level is mental. All of the phenomena that we experience in life, matter and energy of the material universe, they're all thoughts of an infinite and universal living mind, right? What's that mean? It means that all things share connection in the fact that they exist within the mind of the all, the mind of the creator. As it's put, and therefore we are all subject to the laws of created things. So through this principle, it's believed that God is consciousness or thought, and the universe is a manifestation of the mind of God, right? And therefore everything in it is a manifestation of the mind of God. And so using this law, this principle, we can harness the power of our minds to create the life that we want, right? This principle states that the universe is akin to like a mental project. This is like manifestation 101, you all, which is all about using your thoughts to shape your reality. for anything to be, it has to be a thought first. Like thoughts are in the fourth dimension. They come to us here in the third dimension to be manifested, right? Anything that has to be or wants to be has to present itself as a thought first. And so when you view everything that you think and therefore do as an interaction of thought with thought, you develop this understanding of this very first principle of mentalism, which then allows you to like grasp the laws of the mental universe and then apply them, right, to your well-being and personal development. So how can you go about trying to apply this principle to your life? When you think about applying this principle, consider actually like the initial thought that led you to tune into this class or to sign up for mentorship, whether that's traditional mentorship or pay, the community outreach program, or even the thought that's most influencing your mood right now, like how you're feeling. When you recognize how much our thoughts manifest every day, whether internally as a physiological or emotional state, or externally as the things we do or the places we go, we see that when we can control our mind, we control our lives, right? We control the energies that we allow into our lives. We can get better at this, though, through spiritual practices like meditation, which help us to train the mind, right? Meditation practices are going to help you to connect with spirit. And a great way to start in that practice is to get an ancestral life path reading. If you all have not had one, I cannot recommend it more. I offer them through the Hoodoo Orisha Institute. In this reading, I would give you information, a personalized prayer meditation regimen, right? Which is what you're looking for at this point. It's very specific to help you tap into your bloodline of ancestors. I would also give you a specific way to like set up their offerings and, their altar that they want and things like that. Any concerning messages that they have for you at this time and the energy that is surrounding you. There's also a specific bath that I would give you to help cleanse and align your energies with that of your ancestors. But again, meditation is one of those ways that's going to help you kind of lock into and understand this first Hermetic principle. So that's just one way to get you going in this practice. So let's go ahead and look at what the second principle is, right? The second principle is the principle of correspondence. And it says, as below, or as above, so below, as below, so above, as within, so without, as without, so within. Okay. And we've all heard this before. Maybe you never knew it was from Hermes, like the guy who coined it or whatever. But I bet if you grew up in the church, you probably heard something like on earth as it is in heaven. This is the same kind of idea here. And this principle is closely related to the first principle of mentalism and states that what we hold in our thoughts and mind will become our reality. Okay. It explains the many planes of existence and including those lower and higher vibrational frequencies and how they are connected. This principle embodies the truth that there is always a correspondence between the law of things and the things in various places and planes that manifest as being and life, right? So grasping this principle is what allows one to deduce the hidden solutions to problems by looking at what exists a layer above and below the problem to infer the pattern and shadow nature of what is in the in-between space, okay? Just as the knowledge of, geometry allows one to measure the cosmos and map its movements as a dance of like spheres and spirals, we know that mathematics is the language of the universe. Observing the principle of correspondence, if we do that, we can come to know the whole of the universe by exploring, again, the higher and lower nature of things which surround all of the mystery, right? And likewise, discover more about ourselves in the process, right? By experiencing and studying the world we are all integrally a part of, right? The micro is the macro and vice versa. So, y'all, this tea is so good. I'm just going to take a second. When you are applying this law, it's all about understanding your connection to the world around you and how you're showing up for yourself in the universe through your thoughts and subsequently, right, your actions, right? How you show up through your thoughts and your actions. When you have a firm grasp on how you're interacting with life and how it's affecting you, you can recognize and then break patterns, live in alignment with your highest good, and feel harmonious with everything there is. And I know that like these principles can be kind of deep and kind of like lofty, but the more that you like kind of go through them and sift through them, the more that they'll make sense to you all, right? So the principle of vibration. This is the next principle that I want to talk about. And it says, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. So believe it or not, the idea of like vibes has been around for a really long time, like a really, really long time. The principle of vibration states that all things, both physical matter and spiritual energy, hold a certain kind of vibration. And this principle embodies the truth that nothing rests, everything is in motion, and everything vibrates. It explains that matter and energy and even spirit are simply varying rates of vibration. Basic science, like, middle school science, tells us that atoms are in constant motion. And so that we know that the universe itself is also in constant motion. Even our hearts, right, as they beat, give off different vibrations depending on our emotional state, right? And so when we're like vibing high or in a space of high vibration, we're able to avoid low frequencies that don't serve us. So how do you use it? What's that look like? This is going to look different for everyone, but to apply the third principle, you want to not only do things, but think thoughts that allow you to be in a state of ease, where your body is vibrating at a more positive level. Applying the first two principles can help you start to do this, of course. You might be noticing all of these principles are kind of like interwoven. They, of course, are. That's the way the universe works. Everything is woven together. And with this principle, we acknowledge that we have the power to control our vibration rather than our vibration controlling us and how we move about in our life, right? So let's talk about the fourth principle. The fourth principle is the principle of polarity. And it says everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in truth, but different in degrees. Extremes meet. All truths are but half truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. So let's break that down a little bit. The fourth principle embodies the truth that everything has its pair of opposites, right? Everything has two poles and exists in that state of duality. The principle of polarity explains that seemingly opposite things are actually one and the same thing, but at varying degrees. So what's an example of that? An example of that would be like hot and cold, right? Cold is really just the absence of heat, but they're both the same thing, temperature, right? Physical matter and spiritual energy are the same thing, with spiritual energy vibrating at a much higher level, such that it can't be perceived by our senses, but they're both the same thing, energy, Similar to how we can involuntarily and rapidly transition our psyche between love and hate, like and dislike, you can choose to experience these transitions by use of your willpower for the betterment of your life and others. Okay. Understand that the difference is not a hurdle to be surmounted, but two expressions of the same thing, right? Differing only in the degree to choose between. So this practice is the art of mental alchemy, which is a whole other lesson that, I might teach in another class, but this particular practice is the art of mental alchemy. So how do you apply it, right? Applying the principle of polarity takes a degree of mental stamina and involves shifting the way you look at something, potentially completely on its head, flipping it all the way upside down. Take the hate that you feel for someone. Is there any way you can shift that to feelings of love? For example, anytime a lower vibrational emotion is bringing you down, can you recognize it? Can you feel it? And then can you transmute it to a more positive emotion, a higher vibrating emotion? Okay. So that's how you're going to start to use that particular principle. Okay. So let's talk about principle number 5, and that's the principle of rhythm. Okay. Y'all, I'm sorry, this tea is good. The principle of rhythm says that everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All tides rise and fall. The pendulum swings and manifests in everything, right? The back and forth of a pendulum, it manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. Okay. And again, I know this is a lot of information. If you guys want the one sheet for that, you can send 1111 to the Cash App and I'll make sure you guys get it, but make sure you put your email in there as well. So this principle closely related to the principle of polarity. The 5th principle states that between the opposing poles, there exists this inherent rhythm, right? And it embodies the truth that everything exists in a measured motion from here to there, moving in and out, swinging back and forth, the rise and fall of the tides, ebb and flow of a river, never truly, excuse me, never truly sitting still, never stopping, always changing, always going. We inhale, we exhale, right? Everything is in motion. And when you look at nature, it has its seasons too, right? Just like we do as human beings and living things that occupy this planet. Understanding this particular principle allows us to recognize our lives and the universe's natural rhythms so that we can actually work with them rather than having them work against us. There's a lot of reasons why people study astrology so that they can work with the energy of the planets at that time instead of having that energy work against them, right? This principle controls the cycle of life and death, creation and destruction, rise and fall, even of empires, rise and fall. And of course, it manifests as everything in our mental states. So when you are in tune with the principle of rhythm and you understand that every mental state exists in rhythm, always ebbing and flowing, you can learn to use this principle to your advantage by polarizing yourself to the degree you desire. Okay. Then, through awareness of this principle and how it manifests, hold yourself there to keep the pendulum from swinging you backward to, the extreme, right? Rhythm will have an effect on you one way or the other. That's just the law of the universe. But with awareness, you can actually use it to propel you forward and then ride it back to recovery, right? So how do you apply it? What do you do with it? First, know that nothing lasts forever and things are ever changing. Change is the only constant that we have. And as you get deeper into working with this law, you'll be able to work with your own emotional states to avoid a dramatic pendulum swing of feelings. That up and down, like that crazy, you know? It's the thought that eventually the master will be able to completely transcend duality. But if you're just, getting started, try to become more aware of your emotional state, and using polarity, which is principle number 4, and rhythm to get started more comfortable with the natural fluxes of your life. That's a good way to get started. Okay. So we're on principle number 6. How are you guys doing? Is this heavy? Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down? Talk to me. I know this can be a lot, especially if it's the first time you're hearing this information. It can be a lot to try to digest all of it in one sitting. Says I'm getting it mostly. Trying to take notes. It is a lot. Again, if you want the one sheet, send me 1111 to my Cash App, and I'll get the one sheet out to you. Because it's a lot of notes, I'm glad you're finding it interesting. But again, knowing these principles and how to apply them can really help you to beef up your alchemy, beef up your workings and your magic. Yeah, if you need the one sheet, just send me 1111 to my Cash App, and I will make sure that you get it. But again, put your email in there, right? So that I can make sure that you get it. Because otherwise, I have no way to make sure, the information reaches you because I don't have your contact information. You guys always know you can find me on WhatsApp, but put your email address in the notes for the Cash App. And Philip says, this makes so much sense. I've always felt like we should be living with the flow of nature while respecting it. Absolutely. We should be. And I think our culture has brainwashed us into thinking that we are not a part of nature, that we can exist outside of the flow of nature. And nature always claps back and reminds us that we have to live inside of these cycles, these rhythms, these seasons that were created and put here. We are a part of nature. Everything is connected and interwoven. My Cash App is on the bottom of the screen there. It's money sign Ifa Miloni. Okay. Yep, it's the one that's moving across the bottom of the screen. I'll post it in the Facebook chat too. All right. So I'm glad you guys are, taking this information in. Like I said, it can be a lot the first time. So don't stress out about it. Take it in, break it down piece by piece. You don't have to eat the whole cake in one day, right? So let's go ahead and talk about the principle of cause and effect. This is principle number 6. And so this principle says that every cause has an effect, and every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. Okay, so what is this principle talking about? This is probably the one that most people are familiar with. That I would say even people who are not spiritual are familiar with cause and effect. We talk about it in science class from a very young age, 3rd or 4th grade. This principle embodies that there is, a cause for every effect and an effect for every cause, meaning that nothing merely happens for no reason. There's no such thing as chance or coincidences. So if you ever had the thought to yourself, oh man, what a coincidence, I hate to bust your bubble, but there is no such thing as chance or coincidences. You guys, I just want to take a moment right now. If you're on the live, I see that 2 people have liked the live. That makes me very sad. Please like the live. If you're still on here taking the information in, please like the live and, boost it in the algorithm. Okay. So there's no such thing as chance or coincidences. In harmony with the principle of correspondence, there are higher planes dominating lower planes, right? And nothing escapes the principle of cause and effect. Nothing happens without explanation. Everything is connected through the principle of cause and effect. For each cause of one thing is merely the effect of something else. It's like a ripple effect, going back to the very beginning of time, right? The empowering use of this principle is to make the conscious choice to rise above the plane of thought you currently occupy to become your own cause, right? And not just an effect of others and the situations that you find yourself in. And a lot of people do this unconsciously. You're like little robots that wake up in the morning and just things happen to you and you're in this state of like reaction. Okay. You need to be your own first mover as opposed to someone who merely reacts to the circumstance that is thrown at them. Okay. So ask yourself, are you a cause or are you an effect? This principle is all about acknowledging the effects of our thoughts and behavior and how we may change them to bring about greater effects, right? So how are you going to apply this? How are you going to apply this to your life? You will know you are out of alignment with this principle. Again, when you find yourself being reactive, stressed and frazzled, waking up only to handle and deal with things that come your way, instead of going out of your own way to determine and create what you desire to experience. Right? When you're stressed, when you're frazzled, and you wake up and you deal with things that come to you rather than creating what you want to happen, create your experience. We come from a creator God. We are creators. You create with your thoughts, you create with your words, you create with your actions. So when something doesn't go as planned or you find yourself unhappy, ask yourself, what was the cause? What caused that, right? You have to consciously put action first in order to move. And so then that's going to bring you the result that you desire, not as a surprise, right? Not as because, oh, this like accidentally happened to me, but it's going to be a product of calculation and precision, that energy of Shango, like knowing how to be precise. We actually did an O'Shea service on precision a couple of weeks ago. That's the energy that you want here, okay? When we take action to get the effect we want, we move from feeling like the victim to feeling empowered. No one wants to be a victim. Everyone needs to be their own superhero in their story. You need to be empowered to live your life and make your own decisions and create your own reality. You can't do that if you just wake up and go by the seat of your pants, you all. You have to plan. Yes. You can't do it by going by the seat of your pants. It's got to be intentional. You've got to create your own causes so that you can have the effects that you desire rather than the effects that are just being thrown at you by somebody else. And then you wonder why your life doesn't look like the way you want it to look. Right? So we have made it to number 7. Okay. The principle of gender. This is the 7th principle. And it says that gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes, right? This principle embodies the fact that both masculine and feminine exist in all things, not just in sex, but in the creative nature of all things, right? On all planes. So, again, in harmony with the principle of correspondence, this means that the masculine and feminine exist not only in the physical plane, but also in the mental, also in the spiritual plane, right? Physical, mental, spiritual, it exists in all 3 of these planes. The principle of gender, it plays a role in all things: generation, creation, regeneration. Nothing can come into being without the use of this principle. Yes, the 2 sexes can be thought of as a physical manifestation of this principle, but as we're coming to understand on an internal level, all of us hold both energies. Think like left brain, right brain. Think about when you're assertive versus receiving. Everyone has these 2 energies within their bodies. Now, whether one is more dominant than the other, yes, but they exist and they both exist in your body. Okay. The masculine is, penetrative, assertive, progressive, wants to conquest, it's that explorative energy that drives progress. When you are like in a mode to get something done, you are in your masculine energy. Like when you are wanting to do action, 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 that's masculine energy. The feminine energy is receptive, right? Sacred, treasured. It's like this protective, energy, right? It maintains tradition and honors the priority of what is most important while nourishing that is, most essential to life. Right? It's that mother energy, that receiving, like just sit back and allow things to come to you. Too much masculine energy without a balance of feminine energy, though, it's going to lead to a growth of power to the extreme of like reckless abandon, y'all. It's going to look like foolish and fuckery out there where we lose perspective of like what is most important and forget the principles which we began the conquest for in the first place. Okay. On the other side, too much feminine energy without the balance of masculine is going to lead to a life grounded so deeply in the present that our lives become determined by the cycles and external circumstances out of our favor. We don't want that either. You've got to have this balance. There's got to be this balance, okay? So how can you apply it? Accept all the parts of yourself, right? Do some shadow work. We have a shadow work ritual that is coming up. It's starting on December the 9th. For those of you who were in the last shadow ritual, you can put in the chat how transformational that was for you. Like we had a really good group. A lot of people had a lot of breakthrough and transformation in the last shadow work ritual. So we're going to be hosting another one. It starts on December 9th. And the cost is $111.11. We'll be dropping the links and everything for you guys to join that inside of the group in the next couple of days or whatever. But do some shadow work, right? If you want to do that shadow work ritual with us, we'll have initiated priestesses there to guide you through that process and to really help you as you like come up upon these things that are locked away, that are helping you, that are hindering you from being able to be balanced. Okay. So anyways, rewind, accept all parts of yourself and understand that balance is key for self-mastery. You have to have it. Buddha says, he called this the middle way, right? And it's all about the balance of that masculine and feminine, of heavenly and earthbound, and of the mind, the body, and the spirit, okay? And when you can achieve that balance within yourself, you're going to be well equipped to harness all of these principles and use them in your life for good. Okay. So, again, if this sounds like a lot, don't worry. These principles run very, very deep, and it can take a long time to fully understand first and then embody them, because you can't embody something that you don't understand. And so each time you come back to them, you may understand them in a new way or on a deeper level than you understood them the first time you went through them. And in time, these principles can help you master your own mind and your life as a whole. Okay? So that is tonight's class on the 7 Hermetic Principles. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I had a really good time being here with you guys tonight on a Friday night and teaching. We've had 45 minutes of fun and laughter and tea. Okay. My Cash App is at the bottom of the screen. It's $Miloni. If you'd like to send me a Cash App, also send me 1111 if you'd like to get the one sheet on tonight's information. Make sure you put your email with it. I did have a few announcements for you guys that I wanted to hit really fast while we're here. So if you are watching this from the YouTube page, you can find us on Facebook and the Orisha Hoodoo Coven. That's the Facebook group that I also am in. I am live in right now. You can join there. We have a community of people that are growing spiritually and are committed to their growth and development. We'd love to have you guys there. Okay. Get your ancestral life path reading. You all, I cannot stress that enough. Like, it will help you so much to get going in your spiritual journey, connect with your ancestors, connect with spirits, and really have a good practice that allows you to kind of get into this rhythm where you know that your ancestors are going to be there at this time and this time and this time, like waiting to talk to you and give you these downloads and information that you need. Okay. Thank you so much for joining the class with me tonight. It's been a privilege. And until next we meet, may the ancestors watch between me and thee. Good night.
If nobody talks about you, then you are nobody.